Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space for all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogans: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Monday. We actually just dropped a thought piece this past Monday, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available wherever podcasts are playing, and we provided you with access to a few links down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis, and our topic of discussion today is education. On the conversation about education today, I'm going to be talking about the education that starts at home, and that's our concept of timing when it comes to our goals. So I want to talk a little bit about timing, about the timing factor, and how when it is the case that we are trying to push towards our goals, push towards the things that we would like to accomplish or the healing that we would like to undertake, whatever the case might be, that there's always going to be a relationship between speed and accuracy that will dictate the timing in actualizing those goals in and of themselves. And I think that it's really important that we recognize that speed takes away from accuracy and accuracy takes away from speed. So when it comes to learning, the process of learning, when it is the case that we're learning something from ground zero, if we want to build a solid foundation, then we need to really think about, well, if I want to have that foundation really well established, well rooted, then accuracy trumps speed. But sometimes what it is we're looking to be performant within a specific period of time. And if we're looking to be performant, then we have to be sensitive to the speed while also not compromising on the accuracy. So anything that involves learning really is a cross between these two things. And so when you build a timeline around learning objectives that will enable you to perform, enable you to really cultivate a certain level of mastery, you want to be realistic, especially if you're the one who's setting the tone, you're setting the pace. You want to make sure that you give yourself the amount of time that you need in order to be able to commit to a certain level of performance in a set period of time. So how do you do that? Well, you want to make sure that you gauge your ability to accomplish certain learning tasks within a specific period of time, and that's something that you can only do if you can infer from something that you've learned in the past, how long it took you to learn it in the past, and how quickly you were expected to do what types of actions and the impact of those actions, the risks of doing those actions wrong. I mean, there's so many different things that you want to take into consideration when you're giving a commitment to having cultivated a certain level of proficiency. But you can be confident in the expectations that you're establishing if you're very cognizant of the speed versus accuracy measure. You're always doing a dance between speed and accuracy, and I'm always someone who recognizes that I can be very fast if you give me the opportunity to really be very intentional about learning something. And when I say intentional, it means give me the time that I need to be accurate. And so for those of us who are like high performant learners, some of us are very good at taking in information for a set limited period of time. And so we take in that information, we do what we can to memorize that information if we're going to be evaluated in that information, and that information is gone. So there are so many people that I've met in my school years who were so great at taking exams, at taking tests, because of the way that they would ingest the information for it to disappear afterwards. And I just felt like that was a lot of energy, a lot of time spent to get a grade, but ultimately, once that exam was done, that information was gone. And so for me, I made the choice, a conscious choice, that if I'm going to invest any energy at all in learning anything, well, I want to make sure that even once I walk away from the evaluation, however that evaluation went, that I've retained that information. So because my focus is on retention, in retention, I need to give myself the opportunity to build the appropriate recall and recognition cues. And building appropriate recall and recognition cues, I'm building against the backdrop of my own memory system, making sure that things converge from working memory, which is what we leverage when we're interacting and navigating the world around us. And that memory store is like very, very minimal. Things don't stay there for very long. Pretty much as soon as we attend to a different stimuli, like that memory, that stimuli is already kind of degraded. But sometimes we can move from working memory to short-term memory. And a lot of people, when they're exam incentivized, like they just want to learn information for as long as it takes to be evaluated for it, then they do the work to have that information transfer from working memory to their short-term memory. But then after the exam is done, like it doesn't move to long-term memory. That information is not cemented, and information can live in long-term memory for an unset period of time. And so my objective has always been to get information from working memory to short-term memory to long-term memory. And that's going to take time if you're building a foundation where that retention is driven with recall and recognition, because you have to be able to recall that information with the amount of cues that you put in place. You need to be able to recognize that information and all of the different ways that it manifests and that it shows up. In order to do that, you need to give yourself the opportunity to build an accurate paradigm of whatever it is that you're learning. And I'm just trying to say in as many words that that's going to take time. But once you do that, when you do that, you can perform. Then speed happens. And so I find that with learning, accuracy comes before speed, but if you really do the work and being very intentional about the way that you retain that information, then your ability to perform is going to outweigh anyone who's cut corners in that process. And so when you are in an environment where now you are performant, there might be some nuanced information, there might be some areas that are new to you, but you can quickly kind of absorb those pieces within the foundation that you've established. Now you can toggle between this speed and accuracy when you're communicating expectations, when you're communicating commitments, when you're aligning yourself to performance objectives. And I think that it's really important that whether you're aligned to performance objectives that are more innate, more inherent, or more intrinsic, you want to perform within a set period of time for you, or whether you're communicating that out loud to stakeholders or to people who are reliant and dependent on you. Make sure that anything that you're committing to, you're taking into consideration accuracy, like how well can you do it within the time period that you've given yourself, and within the time period that you've given yourself, how accurate can you actually be? Because one thing that we can also do is be nuanced in our communication. We can tell people, hey, like this is your preferred timeline, these are the things that are going to get compromised. If you're not comfortable with those areas being compromised, this is the timeline that I would establish to make sure that we're not exposing ourselves to this XYZ risks. And you can do that when you're building your time commitments or your performance commitments across that time versus accuracy measure. So that's what I want to come here and talk about. I want you to start thinking about performance, about goals, about objectives, about deadlines and timelines that you yourself might have a needle on pushing and on maneuvering, with the concept of speed and accuracy in mind, knowing that they're interrelated, knowing that performance is based on the juxtaposition between the two of them. And there are certain things that you can't do accurately within a certain period of time, and there's a certain thing that require a period of time in order for you to do accurately. So that was the topic of conversation for today, some food for thought for you. Before letting you go, I wanted to let you know that as it relates to my stocking situation, no information as yet, but you will be the first to know when I do. But thank you so much again, and we'll talk to you all very soon. We'll talk to you later.